Hi, my name is Aman Dillon and I'm the founder of Reeling Limited. And today we are joined with writer, director and producer Varrun Sukhraj. Welcome to the platform. Thank you for being with us today and talking about your wonderful film. So I'm going to jump straight into it. So you've been in the industry for 10 years, is that right? And you've been working in film and advertising. And is this your second or third film, Too Much Democracy?
As a feature length, it is my first film. I had done a docu-series earlier to this. And interestingly, it was also about the farmers, but the farmers issue in Maharashtra.
And that's Galki Umid, isn't it? Title.
Is that? I didn't get you.
Sorry, was that the water issue? What was the title? Galki Umid, wasn't it? Yeah. So I was going to actually ask you about that. So you obviously have already done something about the farmers' water issue and then about the farmer protests in 2020. Is there a particular interest in the farmers' movement or the farmers' kind of plights that they're facing? Why these kind of issues? What drew you to those?
There is nothing in particular of the interest, but somehow, see, I belong to India. This is an agrarian country. I have no agricultural background at all. My family is into businesses. It's a traditional business family, but somehow anything related to farmers definitely ignites something within me because I strongly believe that farming or the agrarian sector is the backbone of this country. If anything is disrupting that, then it is not good. On an individual level also for me. So there has to be a personal interest of every Indian if the issue is related to the farmers, irrespective of whether you are directly associated or not. And this particular time, it was not just about farmers, it was about our democratic values in general. It was about our existence as a nation and our right to resent, our right to protest and ask questions. So yeah, that was my particular interest in this movement.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it is so educational. I actually am from, my ancestors were farmers. My family is a farming, family from Punjab, but I was born and brought up in the UK. And I think for a lot of people from a UK point of view, when we're watching everything on the news, we're hearing about things, you do feel quite involved. But also I found it quite shocking when people were saying it doesn't affect us or we don't need to pay attention, but it's like you eat, this is affecting you, not just India. It's a global kind of issue. And
yes.
and I think you've put that really well, you've documented that really well in your film. And what I thought was really interesting right at the outset, where first of all, you had the title "Too Much Democracy," and I'm going to talk about the narration part a bit later. But so why that title as opposed to the farmers' protests or something to do with farming in the title? And the kind of comparison with Gandhi as well. Like, if you could just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So first I'll answer the title related question. So Too Much Democracy. First thing, as you had mentioned it earlier, I am from an advertising background. So something catchy always attracts me, something that, grabs the eyeballs of the audiences. That too much democracy, unfortunately, is a term being used negatively in this country for past few years. It is a very rigorous debate happening socially, politically, and in the news as well. That whether democracy has crossed its limits in India, which cannot be the case. It's a sarcastic title, basically. It is a sarcastic title. As you see in the film, at the end, I come to this conclusion: no, there cannot be too much of a democracy. Democracy is something. Democracy is an emotion. It is not a political thing in a way. It is portrayed in that way since past few years at many places in the world, not just in India. In many democratic countries in the world, it has been portrayed that democracy is something that is causing the problem. Democracy is an emotion, like we both are discussing right now. me asking you whether you're comfortable with certain question or not is the essence of democracy. Me asking you whether you want this or not is the essence of democracy.
Yeah.
So democracy is a basic human emotion. It is not political. And with this movement, I tried to find the answer to this, whether democracy is too much in this country, and I come to an obvious conclusion at the end of it. And along with it, while I was shooting, I always say that this is not a film only about the farmers protest. As you rightly said, it should not have any boundaries. These questions, and now that there is a protest happening in France recently, uh, a farming community is a global community. You cannot confine it into the boundaries or into the nations. And while shooting there, while looking at this issue on a larger scale, what I thought was, it is not just about farmers' issue. It is about uh, an issue of dissent at large, and there cannot be any bigger name than Gandhi when it comes to a non-violent dissent in the world. And along with the this term, too much democracy, there is ignited, planted debate over the values of Gandhi in this country again. Whether Gandhi was correct or not, whether Gandhi did right or not, whether Gandhi is still relevant or not. There is a hot debate happening on the streets of India, unfortunately, these days, that do we really need values of Gandhi in these days? Is Gandhi relevant? So, in this search, I found the relevance of Gandhi and his values. See, it is a very, very mesmerizing thing to watch lakhs of people gathering on the streets of a country or near the capital and doing it non-violently.
Yeah.
There was not a single major incidence of violence apart from the Black Day of 26th January, that
Yeah.
the black
Yeah.
incidents, that was, again, it was orchestrated, and we searched through that in the film as well. But it is a commendable thing, and this can only happen with the values of Gandhi, because they are deeply rooted in this society, they are deeply rooted in this country. And it's a positive outcome for me. It's a positive answer to my questions. I had two questions in mind: whether the democracy is too much in this country, and whether the Gandhi's values are still relevant. So I find positive answers to both of my
Yeah.
questions.
And I think you've shown, I think often, I don't want to go too political, but often there's an argument of it's right wing or it's left wing or it's
Yeah,
anti-Hindu or anti-Sikh. And I just feel like when I watched this, it was like, this is human. This is a
exactly,
humanity film, and it's basic
exactly.
needs that a nation or the world has. And it's these basic needs that, are being questioned. And you started with the well, you have the Charlie Chaplin kind of
Mhm.
quote in there, and I thought
Yeah,
how wonderful, and I mean, there's so many layers. When I've watched the film a couple of times now, and I think you bring in all these fantastic leaders, people, quotes from, and there's information about Bhagat Singh, or whether it's, it's somebody else, and it's it's wonderful how you've kind of weaved that into the narrative, and made it also quite global, a
yeah.
relevance to be quite global as well, by
True,
bringing in lots of other people, like Charlie Chaplin. So was that quite
true.
intentional as well? And I'm going to talk a bit about it later, but did you want it to have that kind of global appeal, that, I'm just not just making a film for India and Indians, but I'm making
Yes.
it for everyone?
Yes, yes, 100%. There was an intention since
Yeah.
day one, because, as I said, it's a global emotion. Democracy and a farming community both are the global phenomena. You cannot restrict them to the boundaries. Since day one, I had this on my mind, that we are not just talking about India, Indian farmers. We are talking about, it's a humanitarian crisis. It's not a farming crisis. When it comes to farmers, it's a question of eating. So there is this guy in the film who says it wonderfully, that this will affect everybody who eats, and this is not just about farmers. So on those lines, I guess it unites us all, because we all
Yeah.
eat. So
Yeah, and
how
definitely,
it
I
goes.
think also the other thing is that what I think a lot of Westerners probably look at India and think, of course, the large percentage of the farming community is from Punjab. But what was really
Yes.
interesting was also that you weaved into the narrative was the other, and you were showing the farming community from other parts of India, but also their
Yes.
languages, and it was a great way to put that all into the film and show that as well. Because I think when we think farmers, we always think it's a Sikh thing, or and again, I think the film could have become something going in that direction, but it hasn't, and it re-emphasizes that it's talking about a farming community as a whole.
Yes.
So we've established it wasn't really an intention to make a more political film. And I think you give a very well a kind of factual account of what happened when we watched the film. And I just think it's incredible how these people, for like a year made this home in the streets, and
Yes.
you obviously were able to capture that, and you were there. So did you, and I think you see how enormous it is. You see all the lungers that are happening. And, I think there was a moment in the film where you say, this man didn't even ask my name. He just wanted to know if I wanted food. And actually, I felt quite proud, of even my faith and my heritage, because it's like they are the essences of, things that, that we kind of, we should know and teach others as well. And so, I wanted to just ask you did you feel like, was it quite peaceful while you were there? Did you feel worried or concerned for your safety? How was the whole experience of filming there?
Uh, the incidents that you mentioned, it was a real incidents that happened on the day one itself. So when I was leaving to shoot for the film towards the borders of Delhi, I was staying in the Delhi, in the heart of Delhi, and I was leaving for that. And I was about to leave, and there was this staffer in the hotel that I was staying, and he was worried for me. He was like, "Be careful! These people are violent. They will, they'll break your camera or something or something." And even I was a little worried while entering there. But once I was inside the protest site, it was like a big giant Indian wedding. It was
Yeah,
like a giant Indian family, and this is a real incident. I went there. I went into the first tent. There was this guy sitting. He didn't know anything about me, and he just asked me in Hindi. He was like, "Come sit," and then I was like, "I wanted to shoot a." हाँ वो सब तो होता रहेगा पहले खाना खाओगे गरम गरम दाल चावल बन रहे
yeah,
हैं it was in Hindi so he was like
yeah,
first you have food because it was lunch time by the time I
yeah,
reached there it was a lunch time and I had wonderful food of my life during this entire shoot. The langars, it was all peaceful. It was not only peaceful. You cannot call it peaceful.
yeah,
It was something which is very hard to express in words. It is you can't call it peaceful because there was no peace. There was a
yeah,
resent in it.
yeah,
There was a kind of an anger in it, but it was never on the surface. On the
yeah,
surface, it was all love, brotherhood. It was a pride in all of them.
yeah.
And of course, the Langurs made it. There were families staying there
Yeah, I was going to ask,
for
there were
months.
women, there were children, it was like entire families.
Yeah,
It wasn't even just
it
it was
was.
just the men.
Uh,
Yeah,
no, it was. See, and that's the reason. That is one of the reasons of the success of this movement. That there were families involved in it. See, uh,
yeah,
in a way that is one reason that there was no violence because everybody was there with their family. There were
yeah.
kids, there were children playing around, there were children studying over there,
Oh, wow.
and there was a feeling of commitment into it, belonging, caring. Whenever I have never eaten so much in my life.
Yeah,
Everywhere they just used to force me the food that "अरे थोड़ा तो खाइए इतना तो खाइए," and I was
yeah,
like, "No,
yeah.
I'm full. I'm just." There was this love and compassion, and I still have tears in my eyes sometimes when I remember those times on the
Mhm.
borders because that is the essence of this country. That is the love that this country has in its heart, and I'm very happy that after many political interventions also this love has stayed intact in this country. there
Yeah,
there used to be elderly women who used to, ask me very fondly about my personal life. So, are you married, and what
Oh,
does
that's
your wife
lovely.
do, and do you have kids, and all that. So,
Yeah.
it was a wonderful experience for all of us, for
Yeah.
me, my team. Every time we were there, it was always filled with love, caring. They used to take care of us all the time. People used to volunteer with us. They used to carry my, because as you know, documentary making has its own limits, so we didn't have a crew kind of. So they used to help us with our equipments also.
Oh,
There was
that's,
this guy,
yeah.
I don't know, there was this guy one day, he met me in the early morning, and he was with us till the evening, just helping us around, and he had no intention and of getting something out of it. He was like, no, I'll just help you out with it. You are doing so much for our voice, why don't we join you? So there are so many such incidences.
That's
Uh,
incredible. And how, so did you feel that with COVID, obviously you're in the middle of a pandemic as well, did you
yeah.
feel, were there any issues with, anything around the pandemic impacting? And were there any other barriers that you faced, with regard to, I don't know, interviewing people? Were they hesitant? Were they happy to be on camera and to share their opinions?
Um, there was this interesting conversation that I had. I'll start with that. So after this, I met this uncle, and he asked me whether I want to have food and all. And then after having lunch, I asked him a, a little worried and hesitantly, because I knew that there is an anger for media over there, because they were disrupting this whole thing. So I asked him, "Can I get my camera out and maybe shoot something?" I was a little hesitant. So he was like, in Hindi, he was like, "Arey, why are you worried? You're on Delhi's borders, not Pakistan's borders, so be comfortable here." So,
Yeah, but then we
that,
see that reporter getting beaten up, arrested as well, don't we? You mentioned in your film
sorry,
about that reporter that gets beaten up.
yeah, yeah. That was happening. But
Yeah,
see, the wonderful thing about all these people on the protest sites were they were very well educated about their cause. They knew who's doing what. They
yeah,
were very well informed. They There was not a single incident that I know of where something has happened some undue incidents was never there. They knew. So reporters getting beaten up was because they were uh, see, I was there. I used to talk to them. Nobody said no to camera. Nobody
yeah,
stopped me from asking any kind of question. There was nothing that was kept hidden from me. Even there, once I was at a Singhu border, and there was this core committee meeting happening of all the 40 leaders of these farmer unions,
yeah,
and I was sitting inside that meeting. It was a core committee meeting. It was a very what you can, and that is post 26 January. So they had all the reasons to be secretive about all it, but it was nothing of that sort. I
yeah.
was a part of that meeting. Nobody knew
Oh
me
wow.
who I was. I was just
Yeah,
sitting there, and I was listening to what is happening. So
yeah.
that is the core of democracy. So yes, I experienced this wonderful thing that I had no problem interacting with people. They were never hesitant about anything that I was asking. They were very well educated about their cause. They knew everything about the laws. They knew everything about what they're doing, why they're doing this, and all that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it sounds I mean it's fascinating. I think the scale of the movement and how incredible, and I'll talk again about this later about the kind of record in history that you've kind of recorded and made this film. But I want to just talk a little bit. I jumped ahead earlier, but I wanted to talk a bit about the way you narrated this. And I think you're a fantastic writer, which is quite evident from the film. You talk about one line that really stuck out to me was they've not come to ask for anything but to return.
Yeah,
And also, your narration was fantastic. I mean, I thought there was, I think films like this can sometimes fall into the trap of it can be quite like you're giving somebody a lecture and it can be quite
yeah,
boring. So I feel like you weaved in so many things that keeps the audience really engaged and interested. It's not just and I really want to make this clear that people might think, oh, we don't need to see the film because we've watched it on the news, we know what happened, we've educated ourselves. But this film is so much more, with the way you added, and we'll talk about music in a moment, but I just want to talk about narration. I mean, genius. I just thought the way you added humor, where you paused things to explain kind of things as well, that kind of added a very light note to the film as well. And I think, going back to your comment earlier about the sarcasm in the title, I think that kind of follows kind of through. So again, you know, what was the thinking and the thought process behind that? Did you want to give a softer tone to a very serious kind of subject, and quite serious on what's happening out there, but you're kind of engaging? And also, actually, some things are quite funny because, you know, it's quite funny how some of these laws were passed and some of the things that were said and done. You kind of added that humor into that. So, yeah, how was that? What was the thought process behind that?
First thing is about being easy is I always believe that the most serious and important things in the world can only be explained in the easiest way possible. Because I made this film for a common audience. I made this film for everybody who might not be politically active, might not be aware of what is happening. I had, sample audiences in my mind. My mother was one of them who is not that educated. I wanted her also to understand what I'm trying to say here. That was first point. Second, it was never a plan that I would narrate this film till the last draft. So we had around 5 drafts before we came to this. And after every draft, there used to be a discussion among our team that no, something is amiss, something is amiss. And then my creative director Arvind once said that, Varun, you know what is missing? It is your story and you're not telling it. I'm a little, in a way, I'm a little introvert. I don't want to, come
Yeah.
forward. And
I
I
think
was
we
like, no,
catch you, sorry to interrupt, we catch you slightly in the film. But
yeah.
yeah, you're not talking on
Yeah,
camera, and
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah. So he suggested that why don't you narrate it? And I was like, let me try. And then I sat again with this draft, and we decided, okay, I should speak on these points. And the language used there is my language. That is how I didn't try to pretend to be anybody else. It is a quest. See, I always say this before every screening if I'm personally present there, and I would say this to these audiences in UK also, that I am no expert in laws, neither I am expert in agrarian sector. This
Yeah,
is a quest of a common Indian young guy
yeah,
who, I am searching for myself. That
yeah,
is why I'm not lecturing, because I have no place to lecture. I am
yeah,
nobody to lecture anybody. I am in search. If audience joins me in this quest, then only this can happen. And that is why I
yeah,
don't make any statement over there. This is my quest. I'm saying whatever I'm seeing. If you
yeah.
like it, good. If you don't like it, go find your truth. This is the
Yeah.
truth that I have seen there.
And I think that's why I thought it was such an honest, you know, kind of viewpoint, because again, you are that kind of common man that, you know, the majority will relate to. It's not a politician telling you something that you're
Yeah.
not sure, you know, is that true? Is that not? It's not, you know, media in that kind of sense that, you know, what are you getting? What are you seeing? And I think it was quite an honest account. So yeah, no, again, congratulations. I think it takes somebody quite intelligent to put it together how you have. And you know, on a side note, any kind of aspirations to be a stand-up comedian or anything, you know, is that something, have you
uh,
ventured into comedy writing or anything before? Because I think
I'll
you'd have
take
a
this
great
opportunity
career.
now. I'll take this opportunity to announce that I am coming up with my own show very soon, and
Yeah,
it will be a satire. It will be a satire.
yeah, I definitely
Not.
think, yeah, you could definitely get a
I'm
Netflix
thinking of
deal.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. And then I wanted to ask you about the sound and the music. And again, I think that's such a big factor of the film. You not only, again, have you used, you know, you've used sound, the kind of background of, you know, the horns beeping, you know, the
Mm.
noise, kind of, you've captured the atmosphere
Mhm.
of what it was, you know, while you were there, but
Yes.
also you've kind of weaved in, you know, like the songs, whether they're Punjabi songs, whether they're very like I'm proud to be Indian, you know, very kind of patriotic types. But also
Yes.
there's you know, there's a rap in there in English
Yes.
that's quite relevant to farmers, and I thought you've weaved that in really well as well. So it's really interesting how you've obviously done that. And I think also, again, in parts where I felt that maybe someone's talking kind of, again, too much and you don't want to lose that audience, you've added in
Mm.
some background music so it kind of keeps
Mm.
that beat or adds to the
Yes.
atmosphere.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
where did you kind of source that? Because you know, the film is so well made, and I think very much on an international level. And I've seen that in lots of news articles and things about the film as well, that, you know, you've had a lot of you know, commendation that it's made for that kind of worldwide audience.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
was music like, how did, because I think the music, again, it's something that it is really for an international audience.
Mm.
How did you source the music? How
Uh,
difficult was that? And did you have anything made specifically for the film, or were they songs that were already done?
no, see, music played a huge role in the success of this movement. This
Yeah.
is very interesting case study here that in the era of social media and hyped media communications around, I guess thousands of songs were made at the protest sites and around the world when the protests were happening. The way you mentioned the rap song, it was made in UK, I guess. It is from UK. The group in UK made that rap song in support of this protest.
Yeah.
There were music, being created in Haryana, the villages of Haryana, the villages of
Yeah.
Rajasthan, even in villages of Maharashtra. There were musicians, there were singers who were taking active part into it, and that is something I wanted to be in the films thoroughly, because that is see, I always wanted to transport the audience to the protest site, because this is something which is phenomenal. This is something, I guess, which has never happened anywhere in the world ever, the way
Yeah.
people stay there for an year. So I
Yeah.
wanted the audience to get transported there and experience what we were experiencing. So
Yeah.
whenever we were on the borders, there is a distant sound coming in of a song. People used to dance at nights.
Yeah.
People really used to, after dinner time, they used to put on big speakers, and they used to
Yeah.
dance on the protest songs. They used
Yeah.
to dance on the Punjabi protest songs. If you see the songs that are selected, there is this one Jugni is there, one rap
Yeah.
is there,
Yeah.
then Haryanvi songs are there. So
Yeah.
this was a flavorful protest. So
Yeah.
our entire team wanted to create that experience for the audience, that
Yeah.
the songs which is happening. So
Yeah.
when it comes to a rap song, it is not intentional. It was already made by the supporters of the protest. So
Yeah.
even with the sounds, the same thing. Why the beeping of the horn or the passing of the cars? Because they were staying on the streets, they were staying on the roads.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful thing about these protests. So I wanted to transport the audience in those times. Again, documentaries are a documentation of a time. So if I am to document this protest, I cannot document this without the music that supported
Yeah.
this protest, because
Yeah.
music plays a
Definitely.
huge role. India has got a long history of protest music, but it was never, marketed in such way. There are protest musics from across the world. We listen to Bob Marley and all these people, but India itself, Rang De Basanti Chola was a protest
Yeah.
music. Bhagat Singh was a protest poet. So this time I wanted to document that music as well. I wanted that flavor to be there in the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the background music, because I believe generally documentary, it is a few critics might take it, as documentaries are not like this. Documentaries, they need to be
Yeah.
they need to be very subtle and all. But this is the test of the audience these days. They are so habitual of the music and something going on around. I
Yeah.
didn't want to lose audience for a single minute, and
Yeah.
that is the reason that many places I have kept it
Yeah. It's
going
very
on.
upbeat. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
so
think, I
that
mean,
is,
even again, being, you know, from a Punjabi background,
yeah,
I think music is part of, we associate it to farming and, you know, harvest time or Lordy,
Yes,
or, you know, it's very
exactly.
I think music is such a big part of the culture, that
Yes.
again, you know, I think it weaves into the narrative really, really well. Um, so yeah, so I mean, fantastic film, and I think, you know, there's so many elements that I can pick out and that I really enjoyed, and I definitely would recommend everyone to obviously watch it. I really found how you start and end with the driver in a car as well. It kind of almost at the end, it feels like it's gone full circle, it's complete. And then when you hear the announcements that, you know, they have now kind of, you know, they've kind of cancelled and waived all the laws and everything now, and it's you see that kind of, it ends with like almost a celebration, and it kind of goes full circle. Were you hopeful that that would happen when you were filming as well? Did you kind of expect that outcome, and were you, you know, how did that kind of fit in with the timelines of you filming?
Uh, that's an interesting thing. Since day one, we had no idea where we are heading because nobody had any idea where the protests were heading.
Yeah.
Uh, and we were just filming. And every couple of months, we used to decide, okay, let's stop and let's make a film now. And the editing process, that's the reason the editing process was going on for many months, because we used to get the footage and okay, we have this footage now, let's make a film out of it. And then again, something interesting used to happen over there. So no, no, let's incorporate this also. Uh, then there was COVID. We missed that point earlier. So in COVID,
Yeah.
particularly in the second wave of COVID in India, we were stuck here in Maharashtra. We couldn't travel back to Delhi. Interestingly, COVID had zero impact on these borders. There were no significant COVID cases on the protest sites. They were taking
Okay.
care of everything as well. And we were stuck here in Maharashtra, and that also at different places. Our entire team was scattered in different places. So we used to connect over a Zoom and watch the footage. So
Okay.
we used to watch the footage and filter. Okay, this is good. This is okay. This
Yeah.
is okay. And this whole process we used to do on Zoom calls because
Yeah.
we couldn't travel. We couldn't. And I have a little daughter, so I was obviously worried. And the second wave was it was devastating in India. The second wave of COVID
Yeah.
was devastating. So with all these things going on, we were like, okay, let's finish the film now. Let's finish it. So, but my natural conclusion earlier was the Muzaffarnagar Panchayat, which happened in the month of September, I believe, in 21, and that was the time I decided, okay, this is a full circle now. It all
Yeah.
started the communal thing, and then and we were finishing that, and suddenly one morning I was leaving for the edit studio from my place, and I received an image that laws are repealed, and my first reaction was, no, it is Photoshop. It cannot happen that way
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
nobody had thought of it that
Yeah.
so
You weren't
suddenly it
expecting
might
it.
happen.
Yeah.
And then my then my brother, who also happens to be my associate there, he called me, no, brother, this is correct. I am watching it on a live
Oh,
news now. So you
yeah.
log in, and that is how we got a natural conclusion to it, that the laws were also repealed.
Yeah.
So that was a very strange feeling that when I had the laws were repealed, and it was a success. And it was a success when, see, I still have goosebumps
Yeah.
when I think
Yeah.
about this, because it was whole year. I could remember that time I was in Mumbai when the laws were repealed. I was in Mumbai. We were editing, and the entire year flashed back in front of me. Like
Yeah.
I remembered all the elderly ladies I met there, the kids I met there, the uncles I met
Yeah.
there, and the leaders I met there, volunteers that I met there, the doctors I met there. I thought of all of them, and I was like, wow,
Yeah. There was
this
so
is
much going on as well. They had the social
so
media.
much.
They had like, didn't they have like their own newspaper that was, you know,
Yes, yes,
their own?
trolley
It
times.
was
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah. You know, they literally did set up life there, didn't
yes,
they? Really.
yes.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Um, so I think I just, yeah, want to really say that obviously it kind of, I feel like it went full circle, and you, um you must feel like, you say, you know, you're thinking about that whole year that what had transpired, but all the people that were there, you must have felt so happy kind of for them as well, that it wasn't all for nothing. And I love how you've kind of said it's a historical record and you've dedicated it to your daughter, because it is one of those films, I see it as it's something that will be in the library and it will be in, you know, an archive reference point that people can check, cross-check in the future. So yeah, no, thank you, and well done. And I just wanted to really ask, like, what can we do? What's next for the film? I know there are plans for more screenings in the UK, but what else can we do to kind of support the film and just really kind of raise awareness and get that out there? Are there any future plans on releasing it on a platform?
Yeah, we should be releasing the film very soon on some platform. Since I mean, I'm not sure which platform would prefer screening it. If not, then we'll go ahead with the YouTube also, because I want this film to reach to the maximum people, but not immediately. First, I want this film to reach to the audiences across the world, because that way there will be discussions happening. And I genuinely believe that this film is not irrelevant because it happened 3 years ago. This film will be relevant
Yeah,
for many more years to come, because the the voice of non-violent dissent is needed for the world at large. And as I said, it is not just about farmers' protests. It is very fortunate for us to experience that many in Italy there were this protests happening with the mill workers, I guess in the month of October, and they contacted me and they requested this film to be screened to those protesters. And in Italy, a good friend of mine in Italy, Daniela Bezzi, she's a journalist over there in Milan.
okay.
So the group of those journalists, they translated this entire film in Italian
Oh
on their
wow.
own. They
Yeah,
did the subtitling of this film in Italian, and this film
that's
was
amazing.
screened at various places in Italy, particularly in agrarian clubs of Italy and
Yeah,
Florence and areas. And it is so fortunate to know that youngsters, the young farmers of Italy, also connect to this film, and they contact, they share their feedback, and it is so wonderful to know that it is happening. So if this film is screened like the way you are doing the physical screening, it
yeah,
will ignite the discussions around the world, and it is happening. It is already happening. So we want wonderful people like you to support our film the way you are doing, to take it to the people across the world, because this is not just a story of India or the Indian farmers or the Indian laws.
yeah,
Governments will come and go. This is a story of a humanitarian crisis. This is a story of humans, us,
yeah,
all of us who need, and all of us who wants their voice to be heard, and that is why it needs to reach to most of
yeah.
the people in the world.
And I think it is a really relevant time as well, because there is so much talk about, putting back into the earth and, taking care of it, and things like climate change
Yes,
and, and agriculture and things like that. They're really kind of hot topics, and hopefully they
yes,
stay like that, so we can really
yes,
take care of, planet Earth. But thank you so much. I've got two final quick questions.
yes,
First of all, just really, what's next for you? I know you have a film of a former king, is that right, coming up as
yes,
well? So
yes,
yeah,
yes,
do you want to tell us a
yes.
bit about your upcoming project?
Yeah, it's a story of a King Shahu, Chhatrapati Shahu, and who happens to be one of the earliest visionaries and revolutionary kings of India, who made some very progressive changes in the society. He uh, he left the world in 1923, so
Right.
we
Okay.
mark the 100 years of his
Okay. Wow.
demise, and this is the first time we are coming up with his story on a big screen.
Yeah.
He was the person who brought the law of domestic violence even before the British government brought it into the England,
Yeah.
and he was the person who brought the untouchable, the law against untouchability in India even before
Yeah.
anybody else could do it.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of things in education. He did things for women empowerment. He did things for
Even farming
equality.
as well. I read about farming as well. There's a
Yeah. He did
yeah,
a lot
he
about
did
for
a
the
lot
farmers.
about education
Yeah,
around farming.
he
Yeah,
was he was a big supporter and kind of a mentor to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who eventually drafted Indian Constitution. So it's a very interesting character from the history, and it's a feature film. It's a so the
yeah,
script is
brilliant.
ready now. We should enter the pre-production soon, any moment now.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping big on this film
Yeah,
because it's a very
definitely.
important
Because
story.
I mean, I was reading about him since obviously learning about your film that you're making,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's actually surprising there's not a lot documented about him, considering how
yes,
many changes he made, and
yes,
also
yes,
I think he actually had an honour at Cambridge University as well, and there's quite a few
yes,
associations with Britain. So I think
yes.
even here, it's really important that people like him are kind of
Yes,
discussed and talked about, and we remember them and their contribution to
yes,
how much he did in I believe Golapur, wasn't it? So yeah,
yes,
there's
Kolhapur.
yeah, it's fascinating, but we're really looking forward to that. So have you got a release date coming up, or are you still very much in the filming?
No, we will start pre-production now because it took a lot of time writing the script because it's a politically also it is a very sensitive subject, and
Okay.
we don't want anything to go wrong with this character. We had to do a lot of research. Our writers
Yeah.
team, they read lots of books. We met a lot of historians, and we wanted to make it. It's very tough to
Yeah.
put it in a time frame of 3 hours or 2.5 hours. So we had to struggle a lot with it, but
Yeah.
fortunately we have locked down on the script now, and we are all happy with the script. And
Okay.
the current king of that same province, current Shahu Chhatrapati, he also heard the script and he loved the
Okay.
script and he gave his
Yeah.
go ahead. So now we'll enter the pre-production,
Yeah. I
and
guess
since it's a big canvas, it might take a bit of more
time
time
to make.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it'll require big sets and a lot of
Yeah.
outdoor shooting is there. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
hopefully soon, in a
Yeah,
year's
definitely.
time.
Yeah. And I think historical, when it's a historical kind of, you want it to be as factual as possible. So, like you say, the
Yes,
research and the work that goes into every
yes,
detail, you need to make
yes,
sure, every single thing on set is relevant and of
yes,
that time. And yeah, so much work goes
yes.
into it. So, yeah, fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. Just my final question, anyone aspiring to be a filmmaker, because you're still quite relatively new to filmmaking, what would you advise, if anybody is watching this interview and thinks, I'd love to be a filmmaker, what would you suggest is where they start?
By reading,
Yeah.
they should read a lot. They should, I mean, everybody should read a lot. The current, see, fortunately, I am now a jury to a couple of film festivals this year in non-fiction role. So what I believe is if you are willing to get into filmmaking, first thing you should do is be minimum on the visual content and be maximum on a written content. So then only you will be able to imagine on your own. What
Yeah.
happens is, we watch a lot of films and then we try to, fit into that and we copy. So I prefer reading than watching many films. Watching film is also needed, but somehow I feel these days people, the young next Gen X of the filmmakers, uh,
Yeah.
they
Read.
should really
Yeah.
focus on reading to be aware, because films are going to be the voice of the people always, unless and until there are screens and people sitting there. So be very much aware about what is happening around you. Be ready to be a part of the communication that will somehow shape up the thought process of the society. Make films for the generations to come. Make films for the for your daughters and for your sons and for the next generation before, because that's the best way to keep your thoughts and your legacy for them. They'll need it. the
Yeah.
the way we are moving forward, there are a lot of concerns around the world, a lot of things happening around the world. We are really not certain about many things. So it
Yeah.
is we have a chance, as you rightly said, if this film goes to the library, we
Yeah.
filmmakers have this chance to stay alive with these. So
Yeah.
don't miss out on that chance. Leave something for the next
Yeah.
and thing like
Thank you. That's really excellent
that. Thank you.
advice. So anybody that wants to watch the film, you can contact us at Reelin. So that's reeln.co.uk for any screenings UK wide. And also, Varrun, do you want to share your social media handles as well if anybody wants to reach you or the film?
Yeah. It's the Varun, THEVARRUN on Instagram, and same goes with the Facebook. They can search with this and they can connect. They can DM me. I'm not very much active on social media, but yes, something related to film, I generally respond very quickly. So
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time
thank you,
today. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you,
Bye.
Aman. Bye bye.